spreading disinformation about Biden's mental health. All concerns were dismissed with demands to ignore anything we saw regarding Biden's potential mental decline because we are obligated to reject Russian narratives without a second thought. Then that debate happened, and it became apparent that Russia was trying to amplify the truth while American media was attempting to cover it up. Story 42. Propaganda is a negative term that refers to government communications. It does not solely mean the spreading of disinformation. It gained this connotation due to 50 years of Soviet propaganda used to disseminate false information. An advisory on hand, foot, and mouth disease in your area is as much propaganda as Russia referring to the invasion of Ukraine as a special operation. Story 43. This is extremely niche, but I still see it posted. Blackfish. Blackfish is 90 minutes of biased filmmaking and propaganda, and people accept it as if it were gospel. It is probably similar with many documentaries in terms of bias, editing, and half-truths, but Blackfish is one that I know more about and can firmly say is incredibly biased and filled with deceptive editing. Story 44. Putin. Krasnov. They are onto you. Threaten us to throw them off. Then start another trade war to destroy them from within. Story 45. Taxing purchases and income. The truly wealthy do not earn money. The company does. The truly wealthy take very little income. The company does. Tax the rich. Consider Amazon, which operates trucks on the roads instead of maintaining a physical store. Less property tax. Less wage tax for employees who would work at the store. No taxes contributed for road maintenance. Sure, your goods may cost slightly less for a time. What's the true cost? When they become a monopoly, it's all over. Story 46. This advertisement under the post is propaganda. It says player versus environment cooperative. I don't know what that means, but in 3 minutes I'll probably be saying, wow, cool, and then the propaganda will be fixed. The Terminal Brigade looks like another Earth. Awesome. I need to go buy a jacket like she wears and paint my room purple. That's how propaganda works. Story 47. Just private media in general. Many Americans seem to think that propaganda can only be made by a government. Story 48. U.S. media coverage of Israel's war on Palestine highlights a significant difference in the perceived value of life, based solely on media representation. This disparity is extremely telling. Story 49. Corporate advertising. Everyone who watched the Super Bowl, which lasted 4 hours filled with commercials, and said, I love the commercials. They are so funny, has given corporations unrestricted access to your mind, allowing them to influence you without your awareness. Their effects are largely subliminal. Story 50. Equal justice. Justice is blind. Checks and balances. Separation of powers. Separation of church and state. Beacon of democracy. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Land of the free. Home of the brave. Story 51. Many people have recently started caring about Palestine due to social media influences. However, they have not shown the same level of passion for Yemen, which has faced a longer conflict and a higher death toll along with significant population displacement. Note, I do not support Israel. Story 52. When they show hurricane, tornado, and flood damage, it often highlights only one building out of the entire area. This is misleading, especially considering the amount of coverage and the experience of checking the area in person. Story 53. Equal justice. Justice is blind. Checks and balances. Separation of powers. Separation of church and state. Beacon of democracy. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Land of the free. Home of the brave. Story 54. Information in general. All news can be seen as propaganda, and many people do not seem to realize it. Friendly Jordies produced an insightful video discussing this topic recently. Provides a concise summary at 6:35. Story 55. Anti-Brown and Indian hatred. Day by day, it feels like created propaganda specifically targeting brown people so they can be blamed and mocked. A decade ago, it used to be anti-Asian sentiment, and now it seems to be directed at brown people. Don't worry. The tables will turn on someone else in the future. Story 56. If someone tells you something that makes you angry or ashamed and then follows it up by trying to sell you something, that is propaganda. Story 57. If your nation has a primary news channel, it's concerning. I believe a significant part of this is that people do not understand how many bribes are circulating. Some media staff are on payroll around the clock. I am from the United Kingdom, and very well-respected staff members with decades of experience have resigned, stating that they must run everything through number 10, our government's headquarters. Yet, people continue to ignore the situation and deny any negative perceptions of the well-respected British Broadcasting Corporation. Story 58. Hollywood films can use military equipment from the United States military in exchange for the ability to rewrite scripts and censor films. Additionally, Hollywood has to pay for fuel. This arrangement is facilitated by the Department of Defense's Entertainment Media Office. Story 59. Marvel movies receive input from the United States federal government during production to ensure they are not too subversive. Story 60. The Finnish healthcare system's stance is that if you get an appointment with a healthcare professional, you will receive help and improve your health. Story 61. A lot of modern music contains subtle messages about praying, Jesus, and buying pickup trucks. Story 62. There was a surge of combat movies after September 11th, 2001, such as Black Hawk Down. The intention was to keep war in the public consciousness and elevate soldiers to heroic status, allowing politicians like Dick Cheney and others to engage in military actions while accusing any dissenters of supporting terrorism. Story 63. That being anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitic and does not equate to supporting terrorism. It is not, and it does not. Most of the US media's coverage of Israel is severely biased, if not outright false. Story 64. Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan features a majority of Republican guests, with very few tough questions being asked of them. Democrats have become a rarity on the program. Story 65. Fiery but peaceful protest. Billions in damages, yet it's peaceful. That's why conservatives won the last election. We are tired of the propaganda machine and we now decide our own fates. Story 66. Almost anything from Fox News. Pretty much any press release from the Republican Party, Congressional Republicans, Senate Republicans, or the Republican Governors Association. Some press releases from the corresponding Democratic Party groups. Anything at all from the Catholic League or any other religious group that is involved in politics. Story 67. 50% of the country voted for Trump.